Hello friends, welcome to yet another session on essay perspectives. The topic for today is Sell Your Cleverness by Bewilderment. As always, before I start, I have a personal appeal. My third edition of my book Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude has unfortunately been pirated. Pirated copies are of very low paper and print quality. I urge all of you to buy original. Original copies can be bought from the seller Arvind India on Flipkart and from the seller Affordable on Amazon. Thank you. Just like for any other essay, this essay also has to be conceptualized as being made of various components and subcomponents. So first we would introduce the essay, then we would dwell upon the essence of the topic, then we would do a deep dive into the concept of bewilderment, then we would explain as to why should one sell cleverness and buy bewilderment. Then we would pause for a bit and counter question ourselves, criticize ourselves with the question, should cleverness be dumped always? Then we would conclude. Friends, as soon as I saw this topic, I was reminded of this civil service aspirants in 2012 and 13. Most of you may not be able to relate because in 2012 and 13, UPSC was actually introducing a lot of reforms in this examination. Earlier, there were there was an optional paper for prelims, then CSAT was introduced, then with the mains also, so one optional was done away with, then only one optional was retained, and GS papers were increased to 4. Also the nature of questions being asked also underwent a sea change. Earlier there used to be 60 markers, like 5 questions you had to write for 300 marks. Then they introduced this 10 markers, 15 markers and all. So it was a transition, pure transition. At that point of time, there were so many aspirants who had prepared from 2007, 8, some 5 years, 6 years into preparation. We normally call them veterans, right? So all these veteran aspirants, actually, most of them went ahead with their own old strategies, old-fashioned strategies, and that's how they failed to sell their cleverness. They were clever enough, they had understood the old pattern of exam, but when the new pattern of exam was presented before them, it was a lot of confusion, correct? How the question, the new syllabus was given, how the question would be asked, how it would be evaluated, everything was confusion. So there was bewilderment everywhere. But instead of accepting that confusion, instead of preparing for that confusion, most of them went ahead with their own strategies. So that's why even the old timer veteran aspirants who worked very hard, who were very knowledgeable, who had command over the subject, also could not clear this exam. So they had to satisfy themselves with some other profession. Correct. So this is what I have observed actually in my UPSC days. So what was the major reason for their failure? Because they could not sell their cleverness and they could not accept the bewilderment. So basically what I am trying to convey is, at that time they should have understood that this is a new scenario. So they should have thought themselves to be a novice. They should have thought themselves to be greenhorns and they should have started preparation. But instead of doing that, they hung to their old strategies. They believed in their own cleverness, and that's why they failed in this exam. So it's important for all of us to sell cleverness and buy bewilderment many times, so in order to become successful. Okay, now let us do a deep dive into the meaning of the statement. So there are 4 key terms, as we know: sell, cleverness, buy, bewilderment. First, what is sell? Sell is to discard. Sell is to forego. Sell is to give up. Correct? So you are giving up something. You are foregoing something. You are discarding something. Then, as against to that, buying is to embrace something, is to accept something, is to receive something, is to letting something in. Okay, so this is sell is to give up, buy is to embrace. Okay, then now let us take cleverness. Cleverness is basically intelligence. Cleverness is basically ability to understand, grasp something very swiftly. Correct? So if you are able to understand something quickly, then you are called intelligent. Correct? So that ability is what we call cleverness. And bewilderment is basically confusion. It is important to elaborate the essence of this term bewilderment. See, whenever you encounter a situation, whenever you encounter an issue, whenever you encounter a problem, initially everything is in the state of confusion, or even though that situation, even though that problem, even though that issue is in order, but for the person who is observing it for the first time, it appears to be a total mess. Correct? So that's how it is. So let us say a police officer goes to a place where there is a law and order issue. The moment he goes there, everything looks to be a mess. Correct? He doesn't know who is coming, who is throwing pelting stones, who is torching vehicles, nothing. No, he would not know anything. So initially, whenever a person is introduced to a new situation, new problem, then he or she, that situation appears to be in a state of confusion. Why? What do I mean by state of confusion? That means I am not able to understand everything clearly. So there are a lot of missing dots. You have to, the dots are spread across and you cannot connect them in a logical fashion immediately. So thus bewilderment is that state of confusion that prevails to a person, that appears to be so to a person. So hope I have made sense. Now let us try to understand the meaning of the statement as a whole. So here the statement essentially means a person has to first give up his intelligence and accept or embrace that confusion. Okay, to put it in other words, whenever a person is asked to take care of, to solve a problem, to understand an issue, then first he has to forget that he is intelligent. First he has to give up his intelligence. He has to just accept the problem as it is. Only when he accepts that there is confusion there, only when he accepts that there is some chaos there, then only he would be able to understand the issue first, and then only he would be able to solve it. So otherwise, if a person encounters the issue thinking that he is intelligent and he knows the issue, then he would not understand the issue completely. Then issue would never get solved to its entirety. Correct? So that's how it happens. So first a person has to give up his intelligence and accept the confusion that prevails before him, and then try to solve the problem. Then only the problem would get solved. So this topic essentially means a person has to ignore his intelligence and accept the reality to solve the mystery behind that reality. Okay, why bewilderment is in a confused state? Why anything is in a confused state? The first thing is because of first impression. Friends, as soon as you see anything for the first time, then you would, without having any experience of it before, it naturally appears to be a confused state, because you don't know the issue behind it. You don't know the cause behind that issue. So then it appears to be a total chaos. Correct? So let us say you are an executive. Let us say you are an executive who is supposed to handle the strike. Who you are supposed to, the employees have suddenly staged a dharna demanding that they need pay hike, something like that. Then suddenly the executive, the dharna is continuing, so the management gets vexed with the HR executive, HR head, then it sacks the HR head and a new HR head is appointed. The new HR head has to solve the problem. At the first impression, HR head thinks that their salaries are low, then you have to increase the salary. That is the first impression. So he would not know. But maybe perhaps the underlying reason may be different. The underlying reason may be that the old HR head must have rubbed the employee union leader very badly, so that actually employee union leader miffed at the mistreatment inflicted upon him would have instigated the employees for the strike. That could very well be a reason. Correct. So but if you are a new person, if you think that I have handled so many strikes, I am a very good negotiator, then you start negotiating with them. Then even if there is no real demand for pay hike, perhaps you would give them a hike. We don't know. So thus the first impression is actually you will not be able to grasp everything. So that is why there is confusion, because the first impression would not give you a complete clear picture. The second thing is dispersed connections. I mean, any issue has lot of connections, lot of issues dispersed across space and dispersed across time. Any issue, any problem for that matter would not appear to be a unified whole at one place or one space and at one time. It may have some repercussions of some event that would have happened some time in the past. It has some repercussion or it may be an offshoot of some event that is taking place in some other place. So, if you don't understand the factors influencing that issue, then you would not be able to understand it properly. So, the real reason for confusion is that the issue does not exist as one unified whole at one point of time and at one place. For example, let us say you are a civil supplies commissioner. That means civil supplies commissioner is the one who is in charge of ensuring continuous and proper supply of essential commodities to the public. Correct? So he has to monitor the prices of essential commodities as well. Then now suddenly you have started experiencing that the prices are going up, so that your main task is to moderate the prices so that the public are not unduly, or the crucial savings of the public don't get erased by this price rise. So thus before you the prices are just rising, but maybe the reason why these prices are rising would be because there are some dealers, traders who are hoarding the rice. That is happening at a different place. Or maybe because there is a war in some part of the country, from that country you are importing the given essential commodity, so the supplies are getting affected. So it is a classic case of the reduction in production and reduction in supply and increase in demand. So then thus these events are happening at different places, or maybe altogether differently. Some other country which is from where we are importing the essential commodities may have imposed some import duty, increasing the prices. So thus there may be any reason, or it can be the impact of exchange rate fluctuation also. So thus there may be a number of reasons. So since this one issue of price rise has some connection with exchange rate fluctuation, hoarding, with import duty being imposed in some other country, etc. So thus it becomes very difficult to understand the issue because of these dispersed connections. So that is also the reason for bewilderment. Next is perceptual errors. This I think all of you can relate with me. So most of the times we analyze the issue as it is, but not as we don't analyze the issue as it is, but as we are. We are always, our analysis is mostly subjective but not objective. So our preferences, our preconceived notions, our prejudices impact, influence our decision making. Because of that also the issue before us appears to be becomes a bewildered issue. Becomes gets into a bewilderment state. So then not so obvious. All issues cannot be grasped so easily. Only when you understand the issue, then the issue becomes clear. Suppose you have learnt driving recently, then you have taken your new car for a long ride. You know only to drive, but you don't have any idea about the functioning of the vehicle. Then suddenly vehicle stops. You don't know the reason. Then that problem appears to be very complex to you because you don't know, because the problem is not so obvious. You are not an expert in it. So it is in the bewildered state. Next, cannot be grasped by one person. Most of the times the issue or problem cannot be grasped by one person. It has to be, because so many thoughts have to be put into it, so many viewpoints have to come, only then we would be able to dissect and decipher the issue properly. For example, this is what happens, while treating a patient in multi-speciality hospitals. So many times the patient, the doctor, the team of doctors, one physician, one cardiologist, one maybe oncologist, whoever. So all these people get onto a table to understand the state of the patient, and then they come to a decision panel of doctors. So thus, if the issue were to be grasped by one person, perhaps then it is not in a bewildered state, but mostly it has to be grasped by multiple persons, multiple viewpoints have to flow in. So because of these characteristics of the issue, then the issue is necessarily in a bewildered state. So this is the whole reason why when you are presented when an issue is presented before you, it is said to be in bewildered state because of these reasons. Then once you have understood why every issue is in a bewildered state, now it is important for us to understand as to why should one give up one's cleverness and accept this bewilderment. First, to understand the nitty-gritty of the issue. If you don't give up your cleverness, see, cleverness is basically your intelligence. If you think you are intelligent enough to understand the issue in the very first observation or first inspection, then perhaps you take a bird's eye view of the issue, or you take a panorama of the issue, you would not get into nitty-gritties. So many times the devil lies in the detail. If you don't go to the detail, you don't solve the issue. So your cleverness will not allow you to go to the detail. So that's why you have to give up your cleverness to go to details to arrive at a solution. Then see the issue as it is, but not as we are. As I told you, our perception, our preconceived notions, our prejudices impact the issue. Suppose you are a marketing executive, you are appointed as a CEO, then the sales are dropping. Then suddenly you would say, since you are a marketing executive, from your past experience, you say that this is because bad marketing campaign. Suddenly you say that you start thinking of changing the marketing campaign, marketing strategies to boost the production, to boost the sales. But maybe the reason is because of maybe the reason is because the quality of the product must have come down. There must be a problem in your production unit, because the consumers have understood that the low quality products are now being sold, so they are now desisting from buying your product. Maybe that is the reason. But just because you are a marketing executive and you thought that the reason was a bad marketing campaign, and you tried to set right the marketing campaign that was actually going good. So this is what happens. So only when you give up your cleverness, then you try to understand the issue. First you go, you talk to customer, and then you understand why the customer was buying my product is not buying now. So then you understand it now, then you come up with understand the problem, then only you come with a solution. Correct? Then see the issue from the other side of the table. This is extremely important whenever in transactional cases. For example, you are a marketing executive, again you are coming to make a sales pitch. If you don't understand the requirement of your customer well, you would not make the products well. So because you cannot think that you are the one who define the needs and wants of the customers. No, definitely no. First you have to understand the need of the other party, then only you would be able to come with a solution that would actually fit the other party. Then the solution becomes workable. Your business also gets boosted up. Similarly, let us say you are a district collector or a municipal commissioner. Then you have to you have decided to do road widening. So you have to remove some structures. Some shops have to be removed. Some houses have to be removed, demolished. So, if you just go with your own cleverness, you just want to just demolish them. By doing that, maybe it is not easy because there would be a lot of resistance from the public, so it becomes very difficult for you to do that. Then what you have to do, you have to first understand their point of view. Why are they resisting? Maybe of course some amount of resistance is always understandable, but maybe there are some reasons which if you understand well, maybe you would be able to execute the issue better. Maybe they would say, sir, rather than widening it for 40 feet, please reduce it by 5 feet. So widen it by 35 feet or 30 feet, so that some houses, our structures would not get destroyed fully, so something would be left out, so we can continue our shop in lesser area, we can continue to live in our houses, in smaller houses, etc., etc. Maybe. So then it becomes easy for you to, it becomes a cakewalk. But if you don't give up your cleverness, if you don't try to understand the other side of the table, then you would actually hit the roadblock, and you would have taken a circuitous path or a more difficult path of reaching the destination. Then to realize the synergy, why should you have to give up your cleverness? Because only when you give up your cleverness, then you would realize your synergy. Why? Because most of the issues actually get resolved in a very through teamwork, right? Team effort of multidisciplinary teams, not the single orientation team, multidisciplinary teams. So only when you give up your cleverness and start listening to others, maybe sometimes you are an executive but you have to listen to a floor manager, maybe you are an executive, you have to listen to somebody who operates the machine operator, everybody. So then only if you give up your cleverness and if you accept the other way, then there would be synergy. Then the last thing is, if you give your cleverness would dish out similar solutions, but if you give up your cleverness and try to accept the bewilderment, and then for every issue you would come up with a tailor-made solution, that is the expectation from any problem solver. Friends, after we have argued for the topic, it is time for us to pause and counter argue ourselves and to counter our own arguments. Should cleverness be dumped always? No. The answer is, letting go of one's cleverness itself is cleverness, friends. Who is a clever person? A clever person is not the one who always thinks he is right. A clever person is the one who knows his limitations and accordingly gets himself adapted to the new situations, new issues, new problems. So thus, if you let go of your cleverness, if you know when to let go of your cleverness, that makes you actually cleverer. So thus cleverness is important. Second thing, every bewilderment adds to cleverness. That means I am talking about experience. So if you understand the problem, if you solve one problem, that actually adds to your cleverness, right? You will be better equipped to solve another problem with this experience. So thus, a clever person is the one who tries to learn from every scenario he is put in and expand his knowledge base, expand his base of experience and come up with some solutions. Correct? So thus, every bewilderment adds to cleverness. Then establishing causality needs cleverness. See friends, whatever be the solution, whatever be the situation, the moment you see it is bewildered, right? For you to at least understand why this bewilderment is there, why this issue has happened, what is the root cause of this problem, what are the possible ways in which these problems can be solved, that actually needs your cleverness. So thus cleverness is needed for establishing causality to solve the problem. Then cross application requires cleverness. See, that means synthesis of ideas is what I mean. Maybe the solution for a medical problem lies in an engineering subject. We really don't know. See, the whole domain of medical electronics lies with this, right? So the ultrasound scanning, the MRIs, etc., all these imaging techniques have their basis rooted in physics. Correct? Light, physics. But yet we are applying it to medical science, to different branches. So thus, if you want to solve some problem, then if you have to think of solutions that may be available in some other domains. So that is possible only if you are clever. So thus cleverness cannot be dumped always. So after this elaborate discussion, it is time for conclusion, friends. We can safely conclude that it is important for any person to embrace bewilderment, understand bewilderment, dissect bewilderment without getting carried away by the preconceived, prejudiced cleverness with which a person is endowed with. But, however, to solve a problem, to solve this bewilderment, a person needs to be clever enough. Okay, or let me rephrase it this way. It is essentially important for a person to give up cleverness to understand the issue afresh. But once the issue is understood properly, then a person has to use his clever intellect in order to solve the problem. Okay friends, hope I have made sense. Let's meet next week with another topic. Thank you. Bye bye.